Hello, my friends. Let's start here. If I say to you that you are the creator of your reality, how would you take that? How would you interpret it? I mean, first of all, do you agree or do you not agree? Or is it like somewhere in the middle? Like it means something, but it doesn't mean something else. Like we just want to boot up the software right now. And I'm really curious. So would you please leave a comment to let me know, to what extent do you feel like you are in control of your life, that you dictate the terms of what happens over the course of your days, weeks, years? Do you take it to one extreme or the other? This is something I want to know. And I say this to you because I have, over a very long period of time, I've been wrestling with this. I've come into the world more or less as a rather spiritually inclined person. It's always been comfortable for me to discuss spirituality, existence beyond physical existence, to communicate with my guides, say, to channel them, to receive insights and intuitions from beyond my own mind. This was just a natural and native way of speaking for me. And as a result, whenever I would look out into the world, as a child, as an adolescent, as a teenager, I always felt comfortable in the knowledge that I was not looking at something that was separate from myself or unrelated to myself. Whenever I'd look out there, I would see it as a reflection of what was in here. And so I would always communicate with it. I would always be in communion with the world. And as a result, it felt like there was a back and forth kind of dialogue. It felt like meaning was being exchanged. So that when something would come into my life, I'd go, oh yeah, like I recognize this. I know why this is here. I know what this represents and what this symbolizes. And I would work with life in a symbolic way. And it was very beautiful. And very often I would end up in situations that were mystical and liminal and kind of cool, and things would time in a synchronous type manner. I would experience lots of synchronicities, and it would feel in many moments like I could conjure things up. I could just summon things out of the ether and get them just on time. Now, was I able to take this effect and just download myself with billions of dollars and, kind of take advantage of it in that sort of way where I just get everything I want right away? No, this wasn't always the case. And that would sometimes vex me, and every once in a while, maybe I'd see, oh, okay, maybe it was in my best interest that I didn't receive this thing right away. But still, I was never able to fully explain it, even though I was able to get into it. So at a certain point, as I detailed in one of my earlier videos, one of my more recent videos, it was about the power of now. I had a spiritual awakening around 2008. I'm just around 20, 21 years old at this point. And it was a powerful enough of awakening where I decided, okay, I need to really make my entire life about this, the pursuit of consciousness, of peace, of awakening. Like that was the only thing that mattered to me. And so I dove into different spiritual texts in order to achieve this. And then what happened over that time was I started to become immersed in a type of ideology that would suggest that you should accept, like be in deep acceptance of the world. And you should surrender to the world. And if you had desires about the world, these desires were actually obstacles to enlightenment. And that it would be better for you, perhaps, to surrender your desires and your wants and your problems and your complaints and everything that would kind of make you in misalignment with the moment as it is right now. Just like get rid of all that and move in a surrendered way with life and see what life has in store for you. And this was my interpretation of spirituality. And it turns out this was a misinterpretation of spirituality, which I talk about elsewhere in my other videos. But nevertheless, that's where my head was at. And so then as a result, as the years went on, I stopped using my ability to manifest. I stopped using my position of power and of creatorship in life. I surrendered it and assumed that it was ultimately false, and then just went into this passive place. And then as this happened, and as I endeavored to become more accepting and surrendering, something peculiar happened where in one way I became extremely peaceful and conscious. I did. It was successful in that way. But also along that process, I became very depressed, deeply depressed. And this depression it kind of rose in a crescendo that peaked around, I would say, the age of 25 or so. This is in 2013. Numbers are rough, but like somewhere around there, where I became just so incredibly passive, and I just occupied such an observing role in my life that on some level it just didn't even make much sense for me to live it at a certain point. And it felt like I was trying to it felt like there were expectations of me that I thought were coming from out of me, but they were coming from inside of me, that I was running from and trying to shrink from them and become smaller and smaller and take up less and less space. You know, all I wanted, I would say to myself, this was my course. It's a little cringy, so go easy on me. But it was like, I just give me my water, give me my food, and my tree stump to sit on. That's all I want. I just want to meditate and be left alone. But then eventually got to this point where I was just participating so not participating with my life, that I realized I actually need to make a decision, like a really meta level decision, about whether or not I'm actually doing this life thing at all. Are we doing this or not? And I had this moment. It was a very sacred moment. It was a very ground level moment with myself. Are we doing this or not? The Morgan Freeman quote from Shawshank Redemption came to mind. Either get busy living or get busy dying. Because being in this like interim period was not working at all. It's one or the other. So I thought, okay, cool. Let's get with the living. Let's actually do this. And with that decision, there was a sense of, okay, well then we need a psychology that will empower us to choose our lives. And so that was my first journey back to self-empowerment, to lose what I had and to regain it again. And so in that moment, I read a text that was another pivotal and important book for me, around which this video is based, after which this video is titled. The book was called The Nature of Personal Reality by Seth. Seth being a non-physical entity channeled by Jane Roberts. It's a book that came out, I believe, in the late 70s. So I started reading this book and I started finding self-empowerment. And in this, I was reading with finer granularity and finer detail about how we create our own personal realities. And we do this through belief. That what we think and the things that we accept mentally dictate what happens in our lives. And Seth, his answer to the question that I asked you at the very beginning, or the question being, to what extent are you the creator of your life? Seth goes all the way, all the way. Everything that is in your reality, everything that has happened, will happen, is happening, everything is based on belief. That's where he goes with it. And you can see this is a very hard line stance, because on one hand, it's very empowering. It means, okay, I can affect literally everything. But then it also goes the other way. It cuts the other way, where we have to accept authorship and responsibility for all the stuff, all of it. He talks about how the importance of discovering parts of your psychology that have been running the show up until now. Different techniques for doing it, different techniques for finding out how your beliefs are creating your reality. And his key insight that I've taken and have taken with me my whole life ever since is to recognize the arbitrariness of your beliefs. As human beings in a modernist society, we see the creation of belief as something that goes like, I look out there, I see what's out there, and then I form my belief about reality based on what I see. And Seth would say, no, it's the other way. You have a belief, and then reality shows up for you based on that belief. And then even more accurately, there's a bit of a back and forth. because you believe and then you create based on the belief, and then you see it, and then that reinforces the belief. So there's a mutually reinforcing thing. And then the power of this effect is compiled and multiplied by people. So when we all believe in something as a society, then we tend to make it extremely real, very set in stone, very in the bone. It's real, it's true, it's beyond dispute. And Seth would say, well, it's just something that we all create together, and it seems real based on the strength of our belief. But if we were to discreate it, we could. So, in my journey to returning to self-empowerment over this time, I found great success in it. This was also when I discovered and studied self-discipline and productivity and the creation of life and reality that way. This is one way of going about it. But something was nagging on me, and there was something that was disallowing me from returning to what we could call my original Garden of Eden, like the time when I was just connected and just manifesting and when it was just flowing. Because what had happened, what is different now than the way it was back then, was that I also had learned to prioritize truth. I want to know what truth is. And I had been, over these years, as this whole thing has been going on, exploring different perspectives. Because I, like yourself probably, am a very open-minded individual. I'm constantly exploring and entering different belief systems. I am a connoisseur of belief systems. I like to look at all of them. And I would note that every belief system that I would go in would have its own sort of logic, its own self-reinforcing logic that causes it to cohere and stay together. But then also, in addition to that, whatever belief system I was in, whatever perspective I was occupying, life would show up for me that way. My life would reflect that. The real problem, though, was when I encountered the materialist, scientific, rationalist, atheist perspective. Because that perspective had an explanation for this effect. This problem has been a serious thorn in my side, a serious problem for me. So there are meta layers to it. So bear with me. We're going to go through this slowly so you can see what I mean. The fact that you can enter a perspective and have that experience have your reality reflect that experience. How do we explain that? From my comfortable, native, mystical point of view, we explain it like, oh, I just created that. I believed it, then I created it. But from the materialist standpoint, the explanation is, no, it was going to happen anyway. And the sense of connection between my interior and that exterior is just causal, unconnected. Confirmation bias. It's just the placebo effect. Furthermore, the follow-up question behind that materialist scientific explanation is, are you willing to accept the hard truth around it? Are you willing to accept the hard truth and let go of this mystical, airy-fairy, woo-woo type thinking? Are you willing to really look at the cold, hard truth that there's no relationship between you and out there? That your sense of intention inside has no effect on the outside? That there's no deep relationship between your interior and the cosmos out there, aside from the fact that we're all made out of atoms or something? And so then in that positioning, it positions the manifestation style of thinking as immature, as infantile. And so once I encountered that, then I was locked out of that original magic. And this was a big problem. Because as it seems to me, what should we position as the highest value? Is it success? Is it peace? Is it love? Like, if you and I were to put at the very top as the most important thing, the most important value, the thing that we dial our compass toward, the thing that we want to move toward, what is it? Success, peace, love, friendship, God, happiness. What is it? What is it for you? Because we're going to explore an answer, but take a minute now to consider, what is that for you? What is your orienting principle? What's your capstone? What's the thing that you're heading towards that is just more important than anything else? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it companionship? Is it pleasure? Money? No judgment here, if it is. I think probably the highest and best is truth. Truth. What's true? And I think we can all agree that nothing matters more than truth. And so therefore we want to align ourselves honestly with truth. And truth has a searing, eviscerating quality about it. Have you not noticed? Like, sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's comforting and sweet and wonderful. But truth doesn't care how you feel. Truth just doesn't care. Truth just is, right? And it's up to you to align with it or not. And so I'd ask myself, how do you explain the manifestation style of experience? Is it true or not? Is it true that I'm creating it? Or is it just, again, confirmation bias? Is it nothing? Is it airy-fairy? Is it just an immature way of thinking that I need to get out of as soon as possible? And I wrestled with this, and I wrestled with this, and I wrestled with this. And here's what I found. The mystical point of view creates a mystical experience. A rational point of view creates a rational experience. And truth encompasses both. Because you and I are the truth. You and I are the creator. This is also what I came up with. It's about honesty and it's about hard truths. And I'll state for you that just because something feels shitty doesn't necessarily mean it's true. This was my big breakthrough. Because the rationalist point of view, the disconnected, scientific point of view, the way of viewing life, I find very cumbersome. I find somewhat suffocating. I'm able to get into it. I'm able to understand it on its terms. I'm able to speak the language. I can respect it. And I can even respect its contributions to the world. And yet, it's just one perspective, and I find it somewhat limiting. Here's how to know the difference between a hard truth and, we'll say, a hard falsehood. Hard truth is extremely scary to encounter immediately. Like when you consider it, when somebody says something that's true and you go, fuck, no, don't say it. Don't say that. Oh God, I'm not ready for that, right? But then you move through it, like you bear witness to it, you accept it, you bring acceptance to it, come out on the other side, and now you can expand because you're no longer pretending something's different than from how it was. There's an awakening quality around it. You're no longer pretending. That's one type of experience. Another type of experience, the bad one, is the one where it feels shitty and continues to feel shitty and never stops feeling shitty and feels contracted, it feels confusing, and it feels like a betrayal of yourself. Truth will never be a betrayal of you. Truth will never be a betrayal of your experience. If you've come to know something experientially down to your goddamn bones, there is no point of view that you should ever trust that would deny it. And so for me, it's to rest in the space of my connectedness with the universe, and not even necessarily at the negation of science. I used to have a shadow against science because I felt myself like I came from a mystical point of view, and even in some of my readings, it was like mysticism versus science. And in some of the books that I would read, like the mystical ones, they'd say, "Oh, science doesn't get it. Science will never catch up." And there was a sense of like being in conflict with science, and I felt that too. And I've since dropped that. I have so much more appreciation for science and materialism than ever before. But there's just a desire no longer to be limited by it, and to reclaim authorship, to reclaim self-authorship. So I'm saying this to you so that you don't have to keep denying what you know. Even just saying this for you has been very hard for me. Learning how to put all these into words, learning how to put all this in perspective. I've been racking my brains about it for a long time. But ultimately, this is a way of asserting permission and sovereignty to speak and to share truth. My truth, your truth. No longer should we allow our experience to be denied by a point of view that would just say that it's wrong. So, that's what I came here to say. Going forward, okay, well, first I'll say this. My name is Brent. Usually I introduce myself at the beginning, but I'm Brent. I'm a coach. I coach people, and I'll be actually focusing over the next few months. I'll be focusing on helping self-employed people who are overwhelmed with chaos. I'm actually rebranding. I'm angling my business in that way, and you'll be seeing a little bit more about that soon. I help people come out of chaos and into order, out of friction and into flow, out of disempowerment and into empowerment. If that appeals to you, check out the link below. I can tell you all about it. And going forward, I want to finish on this. Pay attention to the relationship between belief and perception. Pay attention to whether or not you see perception as a passive thing or an active thing. And I would like to invite you to consider perception, like you perceiving the world, as something that you are not just doing coldly and neutrally, but it's actually something that you're participating in, that even as you perceive it, you are also simultaneously creating it. What can we do with that knowing?